right here. You know, Betty Purdell had to teach this morning. And what I'm going to do, okay, welcome everybody. It's really nice that you're all here with us today, and certainly a sad day, but certainly some wonderful things to celebrate about a wonderful friend.
You gotta go take care of you.
And so if you could, maybe if you're not used to this Zoom platform, maybe just turn your mics off for a bit. And that way we won't have any kind of extra sound coming in, but we definitely want to see your handsome and beautiful faces.
Can I see everybody?
And so first thing we're going to do is start with a slideshow. And then what we'll do is we'll have Nick share some words with us. And then whoever would like to say something, we definitely want you to share. Be part of it. How are we doing on those? Okay. All right. If you can turn your mics off, here we go. Wait, hold on a second. Hold on. Here we go.
It's like a diamond ring, it's a precious thing, and we never want to lose it. It's like a favorite song that we love to sing. Every time we hear the music, and we're in this love together, we got the kind that lasts forever. We're in this love together, and like berries on the vine, it gets sweeter all the It's like a rainy night and candlelight. And ooh, it's so romantic. We got the whole thing working out so right. And it's just the way we planned it. We're in this love together. We got the kind that lasts forever. Don't you know that we're in this love together? And like berries on the vine, it gets sweeter all the time.
All right. And we've got a video I'd like to share, if that's okay. Let's see, I've got to find it. Hold on. And then I think Nick's going to take over after that. Here we go. Nick, why don't you go next and then I'll find the video. Is that okay?
That's fine.
Okay, I'm going to give it back to you. So you ready to go?
Yeah. All right. Thank you for being on today's Zoom. Thank you, Liz. Thank you, Ray and Jeannie, and everyone who passed the word, you know, about this event. When I'm going to read the back of Tommy's card, his mass card that his friend Mary picked out. I think it's just a great way to start my introduction. Don't grieve for me now, I'm free. I'm following the path God laid for me. I took his hand when I heard him call. I turned my back and left it all. I could not stay another day to laugh, to love, to work or play. Task left undone must stay that way. I found that peace at the close of day. If my parting has left a void, then fill it with remembered joy. A friendship shared, a laugh, a kiss, ah yes, these things too I will miss. Be not burdened with times of sorrow. I wish you the sunshine of tomorrow. My life's been full. I've savored much. Good friends, good times, a loved one's touch. Perhaps my time seem all too brief. Don't lengthen it now with undue grief. Lift up your hearts and share with me. For God wanted me now. He set me free. Thank you, Mary, for picking that beautiful, beautiful poem.
You're welcome.
When I think of Tommy, I think of a person who was loving, loyal, grateful, family man, spiritual, extremely funny, kind, a gifted golfer, a man who loves sports, his radio show. My history with Tommy goes back to our homeroom. Of course, I was G and he was G. So we go back all the way to homeroom. And for some reason, God's will, we both ended up being the basketball managers. And for the next 2 years, we drove Skip Worley crazy. We never did what we were supposed to do. We spent most of the time playing hockey with a roll of tape or playing basketball with a volleyball. And he'd want us to do things and we were never there when he needed us. And then we really made him crazy when during the Ridley Christmas tournament, the guys get into the locker room and there's no uniforms. Me and Tommy forgot them. And so Coach Q had to hustle back real fast and go pick up the uniforms. So after high school, I went on to Bloomsburg University. Tommy went to numerous schools, too many for me to remember, but he always would come to visit, when he could. And like anything else with Tommy, my friends became his friends. Anyone who met him immediately loved him.
Yeah.
One of my fond memories was spring break. Me and some guys from Bloomsburg, and one of them was on the call. We drove down to Florida, and Mrs. Gilbert put us up for 3 days. And she cracked me up. She would wait up till like 3 o'clock in the morning and then cook us breakfast. Such a love she had for Tommy. Such, there's always a mother's love, but Mrs. Gilbert's was special when it came to Tommy. After college, the Ballymore guys, as I call ourselves, and guys who grew up on Ballymore and Powell Road and were part of Tommy's, life, and Tommy was part of us. We all had a shore house. And so Tommy was a frequent visitor to the shore house. And it was there that I nicknamed him the Fly, because we would go to a club and, he would come back, at the end of the night with about 15 pieces of crumbled paper with phone numbers, on them. And like he was showing a big trophy. And he was just like a fly. He just didn't leave people alone. He just kept buzzing from one person to the next. You couldn't insult Tommy. And he just loved people and loved to be around people. Because of Tommy, I met my wife of 36 years. Tommy and my sister-in-law, Linda Vogelsong and Kathy Vogelsong, went to the Down Under in the city of Philly, where I went on Friday nights. And that's where I met my wife, Kathy Vogelsong Jaffray. And Tommy was part of our marriage and our life and our dating and engagement. He was part of our wedding. In fact, one of the things I think about the most is he loved the Village People, and this song would go studio lights, and I have him on video, our wedding video, and these are just great memories, and fun memories I have of Tommy. But who never knows if Tommy didn't bring the girls down to the Down Under, it was meant to be. Our weddings, he was hilarious. My children grew up with Uncle Tommy. I don't know which ones are here now. I can tell you the 20-year-old went to bed at 5 a.m. So I guarantee you he's not on. But my kids grew up with Tommy and they absolutely loved him. He was Uncle Tommy. They went to sporting events together. They golfed with Uncle Tommy. He was just, part of their life, a big, big part of their life. he loved the Tampa Bay Lightning. And of course, I would get madder than hell being a Flyers fan. They were always whooping up on us. And he just loved that job. He was there for 20 years. We'll show later. Liz will show how much they loved him. They did a beautiful tribute in his honor. So if anyone's on from the Lightning, maybe Brian, if you're on, thank you so much for being part of Tommy's life. He absolutely loved the players, the owners, the coaches, everyone in the organization. Some of the things that after college, I worked for the same corporation for 40 years, and I was a traveling guy. So when I got to travel, I got to see Tommy. Like when I was in Ohio, I would be with his dad, and we'd go golfing. And when Tommy moved to Florida, I would have these big conventions. One was the biggest convention of the year, a huge international conventions where I'd have customers from all over the world. And it was so funny. You know, you only saw these people once a year face to face. And by the second year, they're like, where's Tommy? You know, we could have a year full of business to talk about. They don't want to talk about anything. The Scottish guys wanted to know where Tommy was. The Englishmen wanted to know. The Chinese wanted to know. The Egyptians wanted to know, where's Tommy at? So, you know, you met him and you loved him. It was just that simple. And our Canadian company basically adopted him. Bradford White Canada, you know, first of all, the Canadians are hockey nuts. So you can imagine Tommy just talked and talked and talked. And so he loved that too. For my 50th birthday, we all went down for the Eagles Tampa game. What a great time we had. Towards the end of my career, I got involved with the Philadelphia Soul. And so, you know, as ownership, and Tommy would come to the games, and Vermeil loved him, and Jaworski loved him, and Pete from Chicky and Pete's, and all the owners. I mean, he was just like, they just thought the world of Tommy. I just got a big kick out of that. It's kind of ironic tonight that the Eagles are playing, because for 20 years, I got the same text before every Eagles game. Eagles by 3. Same text every year. And as I get ready to close, one of the things I'm so grateful for is my oldest son was due to get married in June of 19. And because of COVID, we had multiple cancellations. But it was finally rescheduled for September 11th, 2021. So Tommy came up for 2 weeks, and it was awesome. It was meant to be. I mean, I never knew, I never had an inkling it would be the last time I saw him. But if there had to be a last time, it was a wonderful visit. And some of the things that I remember the most about the visit is, you know, it was a long ride. And he drove all the way from Florida, and he wanted to go to the Wind Drift, which he appropriately called the Driftwood. So for 10 days, I kept telling him it's called the Wind Drift, and he'd call it the Driftwood. And he'd come back with a bunch of pieces of paper about all the people that he met. He gave everyone his phone number, and you know, he became friends with everyone from the Wind Drift. Also, he was part of our family table at the rehearsal dinner. We had a restaurant, and we had a room in the restaurant. And halfway through dinner, I'm like, where's Tommy at? And so I went out looking for him. Here he is on the other side of the restaurant with 2 gals that he met from Westchester. And we had to pour those 2 gals into a cab. They were so fired up. And so we just laughed. I just shake my head and think of the Tommy story. He got the band at my son's wedding to play Thunderstruck. I didn't even know they knew it. I think they didn't. But, he was a life of the party. We were able to go to the Eagles game on September 19th, and he got to see all the Ballymore guys that go to the tailgate. We got to go golfing with him. I took him to a tournament. And so, if there had to be a last visit, it was a wonderful visit. I will miss him so much. He's been part of my life for so long. My family will miss him. Our friends will miss him. But I can, sit here today with a heart full of joy that I had 50 plus years of being his friend. So with that, Liz, I'll put put it back to you.
All right. Thank you, Ray. And I know that's a hard thing to do, to talk about a friend that's been that wonderful. I thought it was amazing when I posted on Facebook, everybody said that just about the same thing, Nick. You know, what a great guy. What a great guy. So yeah, so we're gonna show something you may not be familiar with on Tommy, but this is from Tampa Bay TV. Ray, can you see this? You see the video?
Yeah, we can see it.
Good, here we go. So this is their tribute to Tommy.
Finding a way to the playoffs requires some luck, and the Lightning have that part covered. Steven Stamkos gets the old shaving cream pie for his 22nd birthday. It's one way the Lightning like to take off the edge. Marty St. Louis prefers to look for luck. Following a 7-game losing streak in January, St. Louis turned to the Lightning's locker room reporter, Tom Gilbert, give the Bolts a little pep talk. His positive words led to a 5-game winning streak.
Well, before the Boston game, I just thought that let's come out with a pep talk. I said to the guys, like simple, you got the support of the fans, and also go to Sony. Just play simple hockey. Go give them God bless. That's all I can say to the guys.
When a player finds a good luck charm, they stick with it. While it's working, the number one thing they don't do is talk about it. The president gives to Tommy Gilbert.
Who's that?
St. Louis, and he turned the streak that just came to an end. As promised, now that it's over, Marty lets us in on how Tommy became their winning charm.
I just feel like Tom always kind of has a smile on his face as soon as never has a bad day. So I thought it'd be funny to get him 60% for the team and just catch it up.
There's a wisdom, that's right. So we obviously has these, great attitudes that just rubs off hard, and everyone he talks to as well. It's great.
No, I think he's been great. I think it's just fun to have someone that's that positive, around the team, and just kind of takes guys' minds off a little bit, and kind of motivates guys a little bit. So it was a lot of fun.
Tommy's talked it over for now, but he left one lasting impression in the locker room, one that he wears on his hat. Yep.
I just love the hat.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Yes. I just laugh.
All right, everybody. So again, a tribute by Tampa's News. And wanted to invite anybody at this time that wants to share or has something they'd like to add. I know, Ray, I think you've got a few comments you'd like to make. Is that right?
Sure. Well, first thing I would say is, if it wasn't for Tommy, I would be probably in a apartment or condo somewhere with about 3 sweaters on. Instead, I'm wearing shorts. My mother's still here, so I really, give a lot of credit to moving here, to lengthening her lifespan a little bit. One of the funniest things I remember about Tommy with the Lightning was there was a player about 5 or 6 years ago, a defenseman named Braden Coburn. And he got traded from the Flyers to the Lightning in the middle of the night. So this poor guy has to get up, tell his family he's leaving and everything else, and then get here for an afternoon practice. So he gets to the practice, and the first guy he runs into down here is Tommy. And Tommy says to him immediately, you have to look on the bright side of things. You don't have to pay city wage no more. You don't have to pay bridge tolls, and you don't have to buy tags to go on the beach. So, that's just the type of guy Tommy was. I mean, he had some memories that just went way back. I mean, even when he'd call you on the phone and say there was a pitcher for the Rays that had a bad night, a relief pitcher or something. And he would call me the next day and he'd say, that guy's Billy Wilson. And a lot of people would go, well, what the heck was that? Well, Billy Wilson was a pitcher for the Phillies that was horrible when we were like in 10th grade. He always remembered that kind of stuff. I mean, he did the same thing with the Flyers or the Lightning. You have a defenseman he didn't like, he'd call him Ben Wilson. Again, it's another player we had from so far back, and it's the last thing that's on your mind, but he'd bring it right up. You would remember this stuff like right away. I remember he had a girl one time that he was hanging around with, and he took her up to Philadelphia. And I never heard of anybody taking somebody to Philadelphia and taking the girl on a ride on the L. Almost the bottomless pit, and I could go on for a long time.
Goes on here.
But to keep it short, I miss him to death. I mean, you don't realize it right away. It takes a little while for something like that to sink in. But God, we're going to miss him. Everybody is going to miss him. He touched the lives of so many people in such a positive way. And I mean, my mom is sharing a lot of this too. And, I'm glad she came in and participated.
Yeah, I love them too.
All right, I'll let somebody else talk now.
Yeah, Harry Begg, did Harry get on? Harry, did you, because I know he wanted to say something, but I'll say it for Harry. Harry and Tommy went to the US Open, and it is the most illustrious sneak ever on when they were playing golf. Ray, you know the story, right? They snuck on the US Open on the practice rounds, and they were between Tom Watson and Seve Ballesteros. And I think they made it like 15 holes, and Harry got terrified. Tommy was the caddy, and they walked off. But that's a pretty good sneak story. So, all right, who else wants to share? Anybody else?
Yeah, so this is Randy. Let me share some of my fondest memories with Tom. First of all, that video where it ended with his laugh, I think we all know how infectious that laugh was. He was just the kindest guy. And I'm going to take you through kind of my life with him. It's not going to be really long, but I'm going to take you through some times that I spent with him. Back in my early days, I lived down the street from him. I lived on Kerr Lane. And I was probably as close to him as a brother could be. He was an only child. And I remember going over there on Friday nights, and we'd sit in this big chair together, and we'd watch The Man from U.N.C.L.E. and the FBI. I don't know if you guys remember those shows, but they go way back. And his mother, she was the best. She'd make us this big bowl of popcorn, and we'd sit there eating popcorn, watching the show. And his dog, Penny, was always at our feet. Penny was like his pride and joy, and Penny was always there. I can remember his mom on Christmas. She would take us down to Gimbel's downtown, if you guys remember Gimbel's downtown. And they had this giant, Christmas display, and they literally had this small train that was sort of up in the rafters that went around the toy department. And that was like our yearly thing. We would go down there together and ride that train together. It was really fun. We'd come home, and as you all know, Tommy was a sports fanatic, and we'd come home and we'd watch NFL films. Now today we all watch stuff, streaming online or whatever, but back then, Tommy had this library of 8mm black and white NFL films from the beginning of time, back in the 50s, that, we would play, and he knew every player and all their statistics. I mean, just incredible. And he could never get enough of that. We'd watch those things constantly. Now, I never knew anyone that had as much knowledge as Tommy on the NFL, the NBA, the NHL, for all the athletes. I mean, just incredible. As we got into middle school, I became pretty close with Tommy's father. We used to call him Cap for captain. And, his father, I believe, played AAA ball for the Cleveland Indians. I mean, he was a real sports fanatic himself, a tremendous athlete, and he couldn't do enough for personifying the whole sports thing with Tommy. He would take us down to the Palestra. I think you guys all know the Palestra. We'd watch the doubleheader Big Five games with Temple, St. Joe, Penn, LaSalle, Villanova. I mean, we'd have a blast. Banging the the bleachers and making noise. His father loved it. Tommy loved it. I loved it. It was fantastic. He would also take us to Franklin Field, watch the Eagles. And I'd go down there on some frigid games. And I'm telling you what, I was having a tough time in some of those games because it was so cold. But those two guys would get around me and just push back and forth to keep me warm. It was just incredible. And then one Christmas, Tommy got a Duke football. And I don't know if you guys all know what the Duke football was, but it was the official football for the NFL.
Okay.
And this was like big time, right? Once Tommy got that, it became the official football that we all used when we played football up at Haldeman Field. You know, the guys in the neighborhood, we get together, we play, a bunch of sandlot games, and Tommy was just amazing. He was so strong, and he had the greatest arm. He could just throw the ball like there was no tomorrow. And we all wanted to catch the bomb that Tommy could throw, and he would love it. He'd just throw it out there, and we'd go after it. It was incredible. Then the switching over to basketball, Tommy had a full court basketball court in his backyard, in his driveway. Now, albeit it was kind of a little bit smaller, but still, this thing had 2 baskets. It was under the lights. The neighborhood boys would get together. We would play there under lights after school. We just had a blast, and his mother would bring food down for us, and we would just play like crazy. Now, one time I was sitting in the kitchen, and I didn't realize this, but the backboard of the one basket sat up against the house, and every time the ball hit that basket, you could hear it bang through the house, like reverberated through the house. And his poor mother put up with hours and hours of that crazy noise.
My uncle's Zoom memorial.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's so delayed. He died a month ago.
Somebody
So bad my
go
dad
on
just
mute
spoke.
there. I don't know who that is. Anyway, in high school,
What time is it?
Tommy continued his love of sports. He played on the golf team. He had this membership at Rolling Green, and I occasionally got to play there. And that's where I learned my love of golf. He and his father would take me there, and it was just quite a treat to be able to play Rolling Green. And to this day, it's one of the most favorite things that I do. And I can thank Tommy and his father for really introducing me to the sport. They actually took me to some tournaments in Philadelphia. I think it was called the IVB Classic or something like that, where, we would go watch the pros, and Tommy's father would kind of push me up into the front of the crowd because I was this little guy, and I could squeeze into the front by the green, and I would get, signatures and autographs from these guys. It was just, just a wonderful experience. Then, Tommy was a little bit older than us. And because of that, he got his license before we all did. And Tommy had this Ford Maverick that, God love him, he would drive the boys around in that thing. And you can imagine, here we are, a bunch of 15, 16-year-old hormonal guys riding around in this car, yelling and screaming. And there's Tommy driving, keeping a cool head on his shoulder, never had a problem. And we were like a mess in the back seat. But, he was tremendous, absolutely tremendous. I got into college, and I went to Delaware and kind of lost touch with Tommy. I know he went to a lot of different places, but I lost touch with him a little bit during those years. And I had learned that, he had moved to the Tampa area to help take care of his mother down there. And about 20 years later, I ended up moving to Florida, South Florida. And I, picked up my relationship with Tommy. I went up to see Tommy and his mother and took him out to lunch with my mom. And, we had a great time. He took me out to play golf. He took me out to a Tampa Bay Lightning game. I was his host. Now, unfortunately, being his host, I couldn't sit with him because he was a sportscaster for one of the local radio stations. But nevertheless, I had great seats, and I appreciated the gesture. And then after the game, he would take me upstairs and show me through the booth and how proud he was to be part of the whole Lightning genre. And I actually had him down to my house in South Florida, and it was during a Lightning Panthers game, and he got tickets for me and my son. And being the lovable guy that he is, brought down a Martin St. Louis. You guys saw him in the video. Bobblehead and a signed puck by him, and a signed poster by him for my son. And, again, my son and I watched the game while he was upstairs at the broadcasting booth, but then brought us back up. So just an amazing, amazing heart. I mean, his love of sports was unrivaled by anyone I know. He was a great, caring, giving individual who was loved by all the lives that he touched. And we'll miss you, Tommy. May your soul rest in peace.
Thank you, Randy. So anybody else have some words they'd like to share?
Liz, it's Joyce.
Hey.
Tom was my hubby in consumer math class. Imagine how much fun we had. I always said I had a second husband. And the one story I remember, did we have eggs we were supposed to be responsible for or something? Like he dropped the egg and give me the egg now, I will handle the egg. But it was just made my experience in that class so great. And he's just, he'll always be my hubby, I guess. So thank you all for arranging this. And it's nice to see some faces in an unfortunate time. But Tom's up there and looking down at us, and we're still sending up the love. Sorry, I'm welling up a little bit. Thank you.
Thank you, Joyce. Anybody else want to add some words or like to share anything at all?
Yeah, hi, this is Bob McAndrews. How are you?
We're wonderful. It's nice to have you today.
Yeah, actually, I'm class of 74, but from Cardinal O'Hara. But I know a lot of the people on this call, and certainly in the room at Springfield High School from back in that day. But Tommy Gilbert, I've known for 50 years, and I'll tell you, as everyone said, not a nicer person, not a more dedicated friend, not a guy that could be more humble in life, and knew how to just enjoy the moment. But I'd probably be remiss to say, thanks to Nikki for bringing him around to that Ballymore group that I was part of, that allowed me to have that relationship, and spent many a year, to those stories of Nikki at the shore and things. And actually sent Tommy just about a year ago. I was listening to Bob Pantano one night, and that Village People song came on. So I recorded it and texted it to Tommy, and we had a great laugh about it. But Nick mentioned about the loyalty factor. Nick's loyalty to Tom was unbelievable. I mean, Tommy not having a family of his own, out as far as siblings went, Nick truly was his brother, and he became all of our brothers that, got to know him over the many years. So just want to say, God bless, God rest in peace, Tommy, and Happy New Year to the rest of you.
Thank you. So do we have anybody else that feels moved to say something or would like to
Yeah, Liz,
add?
this is Kevin.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, so I hooked up with Tommy back in Ohio. We actually had moved to Ohio, and we'd been there for about a year or two, and I was at an Indians game and walking down the steps, and I hear this voice calling out my name, but not my given name, my nickname that only the Ballymore guys would know. I'm thinking, who is here? And I turn around, and it's Tommy, who has talked his way out of the press box. He was in the press box watching an Indians game and comes out. So I didn't even know he was back in Ohio. He was visiting his parents. So we exchanged phone numbers and stuff, and we were in Ohio for 9 years. And every time he came back into town, we'd get together, whether we'd go to an Indians game, play golf. We went out to his parents' house on the lake. He was at our house to have dinner. And we went one time to a Flyers pregame. There was an exhibition game down at the old Richfield Coliseum. We had seats right on the glass. And as typical Philadelphia fans, we were loud and obnoxious. And there was a guy who was definitely not going to make the team. Forget his name, it was many, many, many years ago. But we're sitting on down there, and there's a break in the action waiting for a TV timeout. And so all the players are getting ready for the face-off. And Tommy yells out, I'll use the guy's name, Smith. Hey, Smith, I hope you like chocolate because you're going to spend the winter in Hershey, which was the Flyers AAA team, or the AHL team. The linesman turned and looked at us and started laughing. The other Flyers tried not to laugh. The opposing team turned and looked at us and started laughing because it was hilarious. Then there's a follow-up line, something about Hershey almonds and nuts, and I'm not even going to get into details of that. But now the linesman is laughing so hard he has to walk away and swap out the hockey puck because he's going to bust out laughing. At which point Tommy then turned to me and was now upset. It was very funny because Tommy's a funny guy. Then he goes, oh man, I probably made him feel bad. I go, yeah, but it's a funny line. So, I mean, that sums up Tommy. I mean, he was funny, he was loyal, he was quick-witted at times, and loved everybody and loved life. Got to hook up with Tommy in some of the Eagles road trips, to Tampa and Miami and stuff with all the guys. And said, I've known Tommy since junior high and going to miss him very, very much. The article that John Romano wrote in the Tampa Bay Times really, really summed up Tommy. Thanks for everybody for putting this thing together. And it's hard because Tommy loved everybody and everybody loved Tommy. So Liz and Nick, thanks for putting this together, and Ray, thank you.
Yeah, very well stated, very well captured. All right, so while we're online, anybody else?
Yeah, it's Ray's brother, Bob. I'll just have a real quick Tommy story. One time, Ray and Tommy came up from Florida. They decided to play golf, and Tommy borrowed my club. So the next time I went to play golf, my putter was all bent up. I said to my brother, what the heck happened to my putter? And he said, well, there's bad news and good news. The bad news is your putter's ruined. The good news is Tommy still broke 90 because he used the putter for the whole round at Springfield Country Club.
All right, how about anybody else that would like to add their words or their thoughts? Or
yeah, I'll just say something quick. I'm the class below most of you, and I knew Tommy and Nick, especially through basketball initially. I will say Nick Giuffre was one of my mother's favorite students back at Central. She always talked about him, but this is about Tommy. I remember Nick and Tommy occasionally being in Skip Worley's doghouse, basketball. But Tommy always had something nice to say. We had an incredible starting five basketball team. A couple of the guys are on here. I was on the rest of the bench and occasionally got into play. And I remember on one occasion, I took a shot from the corner and it caught the side of the backboard squarely. It was just an awful shot. And when I came back to the bench, Tommy had some kind words for me. He said, you had a nice arc on that ball. If the backboard there might have gone in. But, and the other thing I remember is like Tommy's house, the McCready's and Kelly's house had a full court basketball court behind its house, all asphalt. It was regulation sized. And we, on occasion, would have street hockey tournaments back there. And we knew Tommy's love for ice hockey. We'd invite him over to play with us because we knew he loved the game. And he'd bring all his goalie pads over and he'd play goalie, and he was just an incredible goalie. You could not score on him. But those are some of my memories from back in the high school days. Thank you all.
Thank you. All right. Anybody else? Or
Hey,
please,
my mother wants to tell a little story here.
please.
From Helen.
Oh, my mom. Hey, Mom.
And she said to me, you don't have to worry about your son Ray down at the Tidewater Duck Company because you have 3 sons. I only have 1, and I sent him down there. So he'll be safe.
I'm
There's
sure.
a house down there.
Gotta leave, Jeans.
So, but at any rate, she invited me to her place in Florida. She was a wonderful person, a really loving mother. So I'm sorry to lose Tommy, because I felt like I might have been like the 4th son.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Hey,
Okay.
the last time my uncle visited, like, I was just MIA, his cat had just died.
You were MIA?
Mhm.
I think somebody's mic's on.
He
I think
visited 2 weeks around Nikki's wedding, but I just moved to my apartment, so I wasn't like living at home where he was there, and I just feel bad, but no, because
okay. Natalie, I think your mic's off right now. All right. Anybody else? Maybe
I
not.
know. That's true. Very true.
All right. Nick, Ray, what do you say we wrap this up?
Yeah, I gotta go, girl.
Thank everybody for coming.
Okay, and I think we had one final request. And we'll go out. First of all, thank you, everybody. It's a sad day when we lose somebody who's so full of joy and love and happiness and loyalty and so many wonderful things. It's not like we could ever replace them. It's not like there's another Tommy out there. So that's the sad part for all of us. But we got to celebrate some good stuff. And thank you for being here. And Ray, you had a request to play his favorite song. Is that correct?
Yeah.
All right. So in closing,
Liz, before you do, real quick, I got a text from Rick Duffy, unable to get into the Zoom. Tommy G kept his life simple. Thoughts of him bring a smile to my face and in my heart. So that's from Rick Duffy.
I think that says it perfect. I think that says
We'll
it
miss
perfect.
Tommy.
Yeah, we will. We will. So, all right. So let's see. The last thing is, Ray, you had a request to play his favorite song, which is, Ray, I'm going to let you announce it.
Yeah, it's one from the Tampa Bay Lightning that they played when they come out onto the ice. And one time we were watching the Flyers game, and the Flyers played it for some reason. And he got real mad. He said, "They're playing our song." So it's the AC/DC Thunderstruck song. So
Yeah.
Why don't I play that for about a minute, and we'll just play a little bit and we'll have a
All
moment
you
of
need to
silence.
do, play a little bit.
Here we go.
All right.
Thank you, everybody. Have a joyous,
Thank
wonderful
you
day.
for inviting me, Nick.
Thank you, everybody. Happy New Year to
Thank
you.
you.
Wish you all happiness and healthiness and safety, everybody. Stay on if you want to hang out with us a bit, but if not, have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you,
you.
Liz, for all the work.
Liz.
Thank you.
Thanks,
For
guys.
inviting me, Nick.
Thank you.
It was
Thanks, guys.
beautiful.
That was great.
It was good, Nick. Thank you for getting it together.
Oh, no, that was Liz. It was awesome, though. As you can
When that,
see,
when
you
that
know,
song Thunderstruck played, he'd be screaming on the top of his lungs. I know when I was with him and we'd go to a game and my grandson was with us, he'd be playing in the car and he'd be yelling and screaming. Oh my God. I said, will you be quiet? He said, it's only a song. And he said, oh, you don't know what this song does to me. I said, I can't imagine.
Thanks for arranging all this, Nick. You know, I know an awful lot about Tom, but boy, I'll tell you, I learned some new things.
me too. I thought I knew everything.
You know, unlike you, I didn't get a text before the games. I would get one after, and it would, in a lot of cases, it was bad Eagles, bad Eagles. And then he'd call and complain.
He was a great guy. There's no doubt about it.
And Mary, you kept him alive for 4 more years.
Yes,
can't
I
thank
did.
you enough.
Yeah. He was a good patient too. He really was. He was an excellent patient. I just wish he was here because I miss him dearly. I do.
Me too. It was just something. There was such a comfortability level when, you know, whether it was simple as a text or a phone call, whenever you got off, you just kind of felt warm inside because you knew there was unconditional love coming from him.
He had that personality that you just had to love him. You just had to love him. There was nothing else you could do but love him. You know, he brought a lot of joy into my life and my grandson, and my grandson misses him dearly. He does. They became real good friends, you know, just a couple of months before he passed. And Tom and Jonathan were just like father and son. He looked at Tom with respect, and Tom got to really love him, and he misses him really, really bad. But I told Jonathan he's in a better place now and he's happy. I know he's happy. He's with his parents.
He's with his mom and dad, and that's important to him.
And that's what he wanted.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad some of the people.
We did everything he wanted to do, so I know he's happy.
Yeah. All right. Hey, Liz, you take it easy.
I will. Thank you, everybody.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for putting this together.
God spares us all at the 50th.
Yes.
That's true.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thanks,
Y'all.
Liz.
My pleasure.